Let me read to you a passage from the 21st chapter of St. Matthew's Gospel, verses 23 to 27. It's the Gospel for Monday of the third week of Advent. St. Matthew writes, Jesus entered the temple courts, and while he was teaching, the chief priests and the elders of the people came to him. "By what authority are you doing these things?" they asked. "And who gave you this authority?" Jesus replied, "I will also ask you one question. If you answer me, I will tell you by what authority I am doing these things. John's baptism, where did it come from? Was it from heaven or from men?" They discussed it among themselves and said, "If we say from heaven, he will ask, 'Then why did you not believe him?' But if we say from men, we are afraid of the people, for they all hold that John was a prophet." So they answered Jesus, "We do not know." Then he said, "Neither will I tell you by what authority I am doing these things." That's from Matthew chapter 21, verses 23 to 27. It refers to Christ's authority. You know, as a religion and as a body of religious truth, Buddhism does not claim absolute authority. The Kalama Sutta is readily quoted by Buddhists as an argument against taking what Buddha says as absolutely authoritative. It is claimed that Buddha does not ask for blind belief. The Kalamas approached Buddha with the following problem. They had heard good things about him, but there were many monks who thought they had a monopoly of wisdom. How could they discover who was speaking the truth? This, of course, is an age-old problem. But in answer, Buddha explained that they were not to trust in the authority of someone or something else, but in what they themselves had come to know. Of course, Buddha may have given this answer as a help to encourage his inquirers to become his disciples, which they did. They were led to put their faith in Buddha as being obviously knowledgeable. Buddha taught on the basis of insight that he had gained, and his disciples' faith in him was based on Buddha's evident insight. I have heard the Dalai Lama refer to Jesus Christ as an instance of the Buddha. He is one of many presences of the spirit of Buddha, possessing bodhi, or enlightenment, and is accordingly a teacher of enlightenment. There is no thought in Buddhism of absoluteness of authority as teacher of truth and knowledge being invested in one individual. In fact, some scholars even maintain that the goal of bodhi, enlightenment, although often translated as enlightenment, does not imply truth or knowledge. Well, whatever of Buddhism, and I refer to it here as an example of the lack of a claim to absolute authority, we are all, of course, skeptical of some things. Philosophical skepticism, an old movement with many variations, goes far further than a normal and healthy skepticism and contrasts with the view that at least some things are certain. Many, however, regard it as irrational to claim absolute and unconditional certainty on some things. It makes one, so they say, a dogmatist. Well, all of this cannot be said of the Christian religion, which assumes a theory of knowledge allowing for certainty. It is founded on Jesus Christ, his person and his teaching, and this is absolutely authoritative. In various parts of the Gospels, the people wonder at Christ's manifest authority. He taught with authority and not like the scribes. His authority was not based on the authorities he could cite to prove the truth of his teaching. He taught as if he had full, independent and personal authority. In the Gospel I read earlier from Matthew chapter 1 verse 23 to 27, the chief priests and the elders of the people accost him with their demand that he established the basis of his authority. He was manifestly acting as if he had full authority to teach and act as he did. When Pilate found himself with Jesus before him and obliged to judge his case, he saw that the real reason why the chief priests had brought him along for condemnation was that they were consumed with envy. They envied Christ for his manifest exercise of independent authority. Further, Christ was assuming and claiming absolute authority. Indeed, he was placing himself on a level with the divine, something utterly unprecedented in the history of God's chosen people. The Father and I are one, he said to his enemies. To his disciples he said, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father but by me. Christ did not claim to be merely a great teacher. He claimed to be the one ultimate teacher of the world, a claim authenticated by God himself on the Mount. When he was transfigured before his 3 disciples, those whom Paul would refer to as the pillars of the infant church, the voice came from the bright cloud, This is my Son, the beloved. Listen to him. Christ said that he was the light not just of his disciples, but of the world. Whoever refused to walk by his light walked in darkness. There is absoluteness of claim here, transcending all other claimants. When risen from the dead, he told his disciples that all authority in heaven and on earth had been given to him. They were therefore to go to the whole world and make disciples of all the nations. All the nations were then called to acknowledge his supreme authority in heaven and on earth. He is the Lord of lords and the King of kings. When the scribes and Pharisees of today, of the gospel I read earlier, came to our Lord and asked him to show the ground of his authority, they were raising something fundamental. Christ is mankind's authority, the supreme authority in heaven and on earth. This indeed is the good news. Let us accept and embrace it then.